Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop it back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Let's quickly get you caught up as we start hour number 2 live right here on this Friday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He's Joe, I am Ben, with some college basketball news and notes from last night. We will have plenty more in our third hour around the country in college basketball. A huge Saturday slate with many top 25 tilts, including our first 1 versus 2 matchup in the men's AP poll in 4 years, in the first ever 1 versus 2 game in the history of SEC men's basketball. Tomorrow afternoon in Tuscaloosa, we'll talk about all of that. Here in hour 2, we'll preview NBA All-Star Weekend, use the chance at the All-Star break to reset where the action is around the association as well, the current playoff standings, how the postseason pictures are looking in each conference. But again, Joe, before we do that, let's talk some college basketball here quickly. Memphis on the road last night in South Florida. Just a 6.5-point favorite against the Bulls. They win and cover 80-65. Memphis keeping pace atop the AAC. Huge road win for Maryland last night. Number 25 Maryland on the road against Nebraska in Lincoln. A slight road underdog. Difficult to win inside Pinnacle Bank Arena. The Terps looked great down the stretch last night to hold off the Huskers 83-75. We talked about the historic performance of Juju Watkins last night for USC in her sophomore season. A historic freshman campaign for Maryland's big Derek Queen continues. 24-11 last night to lead the Terps to a huge Big Ten road win.
Yeah, and night and day from when the first time these two teams played in Maryland weeks ago, Ben, where it was a dead under here, where both teams struggled to find any sort of offense. Not the case last night, and the biggest question was Maryland was, would they be able to go on the road and be dominant like they have been at home? And now they've won, 6 of 7? They're now 3-5 on the road. And they play their next 3 games at home. So Maryland's sitting in pretty good position right now.
When you look at the metrics for Maryland, they're 17th in the Ken Palm ratings. They're 16th offensively, 22nd defensively. Very balanced. That always important as well. And, Joe, they had really struggled on the road to start off their season. 0-4 including a couple of Big Ten losses, and then one at Illinois by 21, one at Indiana in a wild game a couple of weekends ago. Did lose at Ohio State, but only by 3 on a banked-in three-pointer by Bruce Thornton a week ago for the Buckeyes, and a road win at Nebraska. 3-1 in their last 4 Big Ten road games, with the only loss basically at the buzzer by 3 points. Impressive stuff. Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference against San Francisco in Spokane. Tight game last night. Yeah, double digits, but a 14 or 15.5 point spread in favor of the Zags. USF covers that number. The Dons playing some good ball. They had won 4 straight entering last night's game against Gonzaga. And yes, they did lose, but they did keep it within margin.
Yeah, but again, the story for the Dons this season is the ridiculous home road splits, Ben, where they can't win on the road. It's amazing. They are almost unbeatable at home. Minute they hit the road, nothing is safe here. And unfortunately, it could have been a great win for them last night, but just too much offense for the Zags on their own home court. But they did get the cover, which, good teams win, great teams cover, Ben.
Absolutely. So, Joe, there was a time where Gonzaga could not lose the WCC regular season crown. Of course, last year, St. Mary's edged them out in a game that was decided in the very ending portion of the regular season. St. Mary's right now a 2-game lead over the Zags. Gonzaga 10-3 in conference. Let's go to the CAA, the Coastal Athletic Association. In terms of the top of their standings, UNC Wilmington at home, 20-point victory over Charleston. UNC Wilmington a game back of Towson, who also won last night to stay in first in the CAA.
Barely won there, and they were 6.5, 7-point favorites as well. But this was supposed to be a big battle in getting one step closer to challenging Townsend and maybe taking that top spot. But the home team, Wilmington, was just, it really was never in doubt, Ben. It was all UNC Wilmington there, and Charleston just did not show up.
So, from college basketball, we go back to the NBA. The association has reached the All-Star break. Maybe you are starting to pay attention to the NBA or basketball in general a lot more now that football is done. Maybe you are thinking, all right, let me get caught up. What are we at the halfway point? It's the All-Star break? Nope. Most teams around the NBA have played at least 54, 55, even 56 games of an 82-game regular season. When we return to action next Wednesday and Thursday after the All-Star break, it's the stretch run to solidify your playoff spot, to try to get into the postseason picture in either conference. So let's get you caught up on where the NBA stands at the break and looking at the futures markets and taking a reset. Joe, we're going to do some market movement here. Odds on the left, the NBA championship odds on opening night. That was way back in late October. Odds on the right, where the numbers are right now at All-Star break. The Celtics, the Thunder, and the Knicks still all in contention. Joe, before the year, the story was Boston, a short favorite to win their second consecutive Larry O'Brien trophy. The story here now, Boston, despite not having the best record in the Eastern Conference, that's the Cavs, still remain the very short favorites to win the NBA title. But Oklahoma City, as you can see, has made that gap a lot closer. Some of the biggest movement you'll see, the 76ers, who had the third best price to win the Eastern Conference, have moved back 10x to a 100-1 price to win the NBA championship. Philly in a terrible spot. The Timberwolves have seen their price 5x, 10-1, now 50-1. The Nuggets still in contention, third best record currently in the Western Conference. And the Mavs, of course, who, led by Luka Doncic, made the NBA Finals in a matchup against the Celtics. A very different picture for the franchise now, in the future, maybe forever, and certainly from the odds perspective. 11-1 becomes 48-1. Joe, when you see all of that market movement, which team, which number, which bit of movement catches your attention first?
Well, I mean, listen, the fact that Denver got worse than they were on October 22nd is hilarious. At 14-1 now here. because this team will always have a chance to compete for a championship with the Joker and Mike Malone, quite honestly, pulling the strings there. He knows the kind of team he has. Russell Westbrook has proven to have a little bit left in the tank coming off the bench there, Ben. And call me crazy, the Nuggets have one of the best offenses in the league that can dominate you at any time. So I just think you always have a chance with the Joker. And there is no reason why at 14-1 you probably shouldn't consider grabbing a piece of them, because until OKC can get past that, it's tough to win in the playoffs, Ben. The Nuggets have done it time and time again.
And that's a really good point, Joe, and we'll talk about that further on the other side of the break. You see the NBA championship odds on your screen. It was a seismic, monumental, transformative NBA trade deadline week, probably the most historic we had seen in the history of the NBA. But the team at the top of the odds boards are all really homegrown, built, didn't make those big blockbuster deals at deadline week, as you will see there. I'll talk about the two stories that catch my attention from a movement perspective on the other side of the break. To me, Joe, it is still the tier of two in the tightly contested race at the top between the Celtics and the Thunder. How realistic do the Cavaliers have a chance of making an NBA championship run? And then the Philadelphia 76ers, who are 20-34, somehow not out of it. Next.
At some point, these ADs are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they can run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NBA at the All-Star break. We'll give you some picks and previews and try to explain to the best of our ability all the changing formats of All-Star weekend out in San Francisco. But from a handicapping perspective and looking at the season at large, it's a time to reset, look at where the markets are in comparison to the standings, playoff positioning, postseason seeds at stake, and remind all of you, this is not the halfway point like it is at times in certain other leagues. Really, the All-Star break never really falls exactly at the middle. but especially in the NBA, Joe, with every team playing 54, 55, 56 games by the time we have now reached the break, we're really talking the home stretch once we get back to regular season action starting next week. I mentioned right before the break that I would talk about the market movement that has caught my attention the most. Story number one to me is still the same story that I had in the offseason before this year began. The Celtics being an incredibly short favorite to win yet another NBA championship, and that still being the case. But now Oklahoma City, matching the best record in the NBA and having the best one out west at 44-10, closing that gap. Plus 195 for Boston now, plus 230. The Thunder only 35 cents behind. The second story to me is the dramatic odds movement in a regressive way against the Philadelphia 76ers. 10-1 before the year because you had Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, the acquisition of Paul George. Maybe they could provide that test to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. Now at 100-1. Joe, Philadelphia is 20-34. They are 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year. Tyrese Maxey is trying his darndest. Earlier in the year, it was the rookie out of Duke, Jared McCain, doing everything he could. He's out for the remainder of this season. Paul George has better podcast numbers than he does actual scoring numbers as a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. And yet, Joe, although it seems the 76ers have zero chance of even getting to the postseason because they're 14 games under 500, they're only a game and a half out of the 10 seed in the Eastern Conference, which would mean they would at least have a play-in tournament opportunity if they can at least win a couple of games down the stretch.
Yeah, no. I can see them, and thank you for participating here. There is some good news in Philadelphia, though. You're watching Tyrese Maxey grow up before your eyes into what is a franchise player. You have young guys like Justin Edwards, Jared McCain, also very, very good players. The problem is Paul George is a total bust, may have been one of the worst contracts given in the league. Embiid can't stay healthy. His attitude stinks. But the good news is with those young players, there is enough talent on this roster where I don't think the rebuild would take that long. But keep in mind, of all teams, the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, because of the trade, own Philadelphia's first-round pick, which is projected to be a top 5 or 6 pick. Oklahoma City is going to get another top 5 pick in the draft if things stay the same. Just absolutely horrific season for the Philadelphia Sixers.
Trust the process? Sam Presti is, and we are seeing direct results because Oklahoma City now, despite a loss last night in Minneapolis to end out the All-Star break, still the best record in a large way in the Western Conference at 44-10, tying the Cavaliers for the best record overall in the NBA here at the break. So let's take a look at the Western Conference standings in the playoff picture at this moment. The Thunder have an 8-game advantage for the top spot in that number 1 overall seed. The Grizzlies have a chance with John Morant playing good basketball and focusing only on basketball to be the 2nd seed in the Western Conference playoff picture for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. The Nuggets, the Rockets, the Lakers, and the Clippers. We'll talk about those teams in Los Angeles in just a moment. The 2 teams that met in last year's Western Conference Finals, the T-Wolves and the Mavericks, above 500. The Kings and the Warriors round out the final 2 spots in the play-in tournament. And the Dubs and the Kings, as you see there with the same exact record through 55 games, game and a half advantage for both the teams from Northern California over the Phoenix Suns in terms of those play-in tournament positions. Joe, I think the theme, at least in my estimation, in the Western Conference, the Thunder are a great story. There is zero doubt with what we are witnessing night in, night out in the NBA. They are the best team, if not one of the best teams right now playing. The Grizzlies are great. The Rockets have been fun. We'll talk about LA in just a second. But really, as you look up and down the Western Conference standings and the teams that would currently already be in the postseason, 1 through 6, the only real teams that have done anything are the Denver Nuggets, and I guess if you want to give the Lakers credit for their bubble championship. But really, the Nuggets, Joe, are the team that is not only putting out the performances on the court with the same cast and crew that has won a Western Conference crown in an NBA championship at this moment.
And no respect in the market at 14-1 to win it all right now, Ben. I would imagine the number is probably pretty juicy to win the West as well. But I have them as the second-ranked team, as you can see there, right? Plus 550 here. Memphis, to me, is another amazing story nobody's talking about because they are now in a position here, Ben, to actually break their franchise record of 56 wins in a season, and they're doing it starting 2 rookies. And don't forget, they were 27-55 last year, and Ja Morant's missed 21 games this year. So, I mean, they're top 7 in both offense and defense, and nobody is giving them credit because we're all waiting for Ja Morant to fall off the rails here. Well, they've been doing it without Ja Morant, and they've been doing it with 2 rookies, Ben. It's pretty impressive.
And when Ja Morant has not been there, it's not suspensions, of course. Maybe his father, T. Morant, should stop trying to fight people in the stands or referees. Exactly. But outside of that, Ja's been consistent with what he has done. And Taylor Jenkins reminding everybody, you might not know me or know what I look like, but I'm a pretty darn good NBA coach. We'll look at the Western Conference odds and then move to the Eastern Conference. On the other side of the break, here on the early line on SportsGrid, it's the NBA at the All-Star break.
Slow play drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
But if it ends up being 1 versus 2, which seems likely because the Cavs had a 5.5 game lead over Boston, the Celtics 3 games clear of the New York Knicks.
They're not unstoppable, not running away with everything, but for them to blow a 5.5 game lead on the backstretch in the NBA, already being a quality team outside of disastrous injuries, I don't buy that at this time.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA at the All-Star break, a time to reset, look at where the standings are, those playoff positions. When we return from the All-Star break, it's the home stretch of this regular season. Joe, in the Western Conference still, Eastern Conference in just a moment. Here are the conference odds out west. Oklahoma City, 8-game advantage for that top spot. Near an even money favorite at plus 105. Earlier in the week, it was exactly even money, plus 100. The Nuggets, a very far gap back And then, of course, Joe, there's the Los Angeles Lakers. Always notable. It's LA, it's the purple and gold, it's LeBron James, but now, of course, with the addition of Luka Doncic. And it's not just adding Luka Doncic and being like, oh, can the Lakers make a run into the play-in tournament? The Lakers right now are only a half game behind the Rockets for the 4th spot in the Western Conference. If you're in the top 4, you are hosting an opening round playoff series. Joe, can the Lakers make a run? Is the ceiling as high as it needs to be for LA this season to actually win the West?
Well, listen, anything is possible given, the two guys that they have on that team now. But you got to give them credit, too, as well, because the first 30, 35 games of the season, Ben, were a little bit rocky, to say the least. But they've won 12 of 15 entering this break and, of course, pulled off one of the most amazing trades in NBA history, getting Luka. So, listen, in a 7-game playoff series, I don't know that I'd be betting them over Boston or OKC or even Cleveland as far as I'm concerned there, but they are certainly more than capable of putting it together and making a run at the Western Conference for sure.
Joe, just about a month ago, January 13th, the Lakers were 20-17. Fine, above 500, nothing to write home about. They enter the All-Star break having won 12 of their last 15 games and now have Luka Doncic. Let's go to the Eastern Conference playoff picture because, Joe, for me, the story out east is the same it has been, but it's a little bit different. The Celtics were far and away the best team in the NBA, but certainly out east all season long a year ago, and that has been the expectation for Boston this year, and they have largely lived up to it from the odds makers' perspective. Not quite as historic as a season ago, but as our expectations get higher, so do our levels of success for the C's. Still 39-16, third best record in the NBA, second best in the Eastern Conference, but 5.5 games back of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have, of course, been one of the stories out east. The Knicks, 36-18, and really then you kind of find your drop-offs around the Eastern Conference standings, and you can see the records of the teams that would even be in consideration for the play-in tournament at this moment, all at least 2 games sub 500 or worse. Joe, the story to me in the Eastern Conference is simply this. The Boston Celtics are already a minus money favorite to win the Eastern Conference crown. Largely, they have been for the last month and a half or so. But can the Cavaliers or the New York Knicks actually challenge the Celtics and knock them off their perch in the Eastern Conference?
But it's so funny, Ben, because they're the champs and they're the favorites, and with good reason, because I believe they're one of the only teams in the top 5 in both offense and defense this season. I think the biggest problem with the Celtics is not that they got worse. It's that everybody else around them got better, including those Cleveland Cavaliers, who are also sitting pretty good here, as they're the number 1 offense. They're number 1 in threes. They're number 8 in defense. This team is doing it all. But like the conversation we had with OKC, what have they done in the postseason, Ben, to lead us to believe that they can get this done over a Boston Celtics?
And that's the question, Joe. So when you look, you could make some arguments, I guess, if the Bucks are at full strength with Giannis and Dame, but even with them both out there at times, it has not been the prettiest picture. And then the Doc Rivers playoff conversations come up, all of that good stuff. I think the question is still, Joe, which team provides Boston its biggest test? Would you say that is the Cavs, or are the Knicks a better opponent for the Boston Celtics?
Well, the problem with the Knicks is they haven't beaten anybody of that caliber here. They've lost twice by a combined 50 points against Boston in 2 games. They've also lost to Cleveland. They haven't beaten anybody in the top 8, Ben. So how can we trust the Knicks at all unless they're playing 500 teams?
You would say the Knicks are in a better spot than they were last year in the postseason with Karl Anthony Towns playing as well as he is. But is it enough? That's the question. Bryan Fonseca will help with some answers up next.
slow play drumbeat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scaver when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
But if it ends up being 1 versus 2, which seems likely because the Cavs had a 5.5-game lead over Boston, the Celtics 3 games clear of the New York Knicks.
They're not unstoppable, not running away with everything, but for them to blow a 5.5-game lead on the backstretch in the NBA, already being a quality team outside of disastrous injuries, I don't buy that at this time.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins.
St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night, but it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The NBA at the All-Star break at the very start of All-Star weekend tonight in San Francisco. To make sense of everything, where the NBA stands here at the break, basically every team playing 54, 55, 56-plus games throughout this 82-game regular season. What the stretch run is going to hold as we eye the postseason. And, of course, for some All-Star weekend festivities and winners, we are very pleased right now to welcome on Bryan Fonseca. He will be here with us for the next few segments, talking about everything around the association. Fonseca, once again, thanks so much for being back on the early line. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be back. How we doing?
Doing well. Doing well, my man. Glad to have you here, and let's get to everything in the NBA. Fonseca, there might be some that are trying to get caught up on action in the association at the end of football season, seeing its All-Star break, saying, all right, what are we, like halfway through the season? No, as I just shared, we're pretty close to the end. So every game we see after the All-Star break, if you are in the running, direct implications on the NBA postseason, and of course, the Chase for a Larry O'Brien trophy. Fonseca, on the screen here in just a second, there will be the 10 best odds to win the NBA title this year. The Celtics, the reigning champs, have been booked as the short favorites all year long. That's where they remain entering All-Star weekend. The Thunder, though, have closed that gap back by only 35 cents. The Thunder and the Cavaliers tied for the best record at this current point in the NBA season, 44-10. As you look at those 10 best prices to win a championship this season, what's one of the main stories that is standing out to you?
One of the main things as I'm looking at the screen is just how flawed all these teams are, which makes it interesting to sort of analyze, bet on, predict, because all of these teams have at least one major flaw, which that's an indication of parity, right? Like the NBA is not where it was in 2017, 2018, where you had two dominant teams and you kind of knew what we were going to get in the finals. Like you knew it was going to be Cavs Warriors at the end of the year. It's a different time in the league now because you have all these teams with a bunch of different flaws. The Lakers just got Luka Doncic. They don't have a center. They're 6, and I could actually give you a case for why they can make a run to at least the Western Conference Finals. And the odds makers here, I mean, they have the third best odds to get to the NBA Finals out of the Western Conference. So, I mean, and them playing against Denver, while I would favor Denver, and that for obvious reasons, because Nikola Jokic just destroys the Lakers. Luka Doncic is Luka Doncic. I mean, like, there are a lot of different things here that stand out to me. And another thing is probably, I would probably want to not bet on more teams than actually bet on because of the fears of what I'm expressing. Like, hey, this team is weak here. In the case of the Mavericks, I really liked them before the trade. Now I don't as much. They're banged up on top of that. Yesterday, they sat their 6 best players. They still won, but they sat their 6 best players yesterday, right before All-Star break. As collectively in the NBA, a lot of people just decided to sit a bunch of their best guys. But it's just the flaws of the team. But I think the flaws of these teams. But I think that makes this all the more interesting, in my opinion.
And yet the Celtics are pretty much the same team that just won a championship in dominant fashion a year ago. Can we make the argument, as flawed as a lot of these teams are, they all got better because the Celtics didn't have the Thunder or the Cavs to worry about a year ago. I mean, there was never any doubt they were such huge favorites. Are these teams better and more capable of competing against the Boston Celtics?
I think as a whole, yes. I think the Knicks, while they changed their identity, and I like their identity that they had last year, they have a higher offensive ceiling this year. My concern is, can their defense become a top 10 defense, which has not been the case all year. And honestly, they struggle more than people think against some of these really good teams. Like, they have 3 games coming up against Cleveland that I have circled, 2 of which are in April, right before the playoffs. And the other one is 1 week from today. So immediately after All-Star break, we're going to see Knicks Cavs, and that's going to be very, very important, I think, for how we look at the Knicks down the stretch, especially considering at trade deadline they weren't very aggressive, and they ended up getting just DeLon Wright. So they'll probably be active in the buyout market, but their team is kind of their team. And even on the Western Conference, if you look at Oklahoma City, for example, I think there are challengers to Oklahoma City. I don't think Oklahoma City is just going to tear through the Western Conference necessarily. Mm-hmm. They should be the favorite. And honestly, they probably should be the favorite to win the entire thing, I would have said, if Boston hadn't done what they did last year. But I think with Boston, there are challengers in the Eastern Conference this year. The problem is you would have thought Philly would be one of them, and that's just it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then a team like Miami, who's always a pain for them, they're not there, and Jimmy Butler's no longer there. So you're just kind of crossing off teams. And the Celtic challengers, it's really 2.5 because we still hold out, hey, maybe Milwaukee can go on a winning streak at the end. I think Orlando traditionally matches up pretty well with them from a defensive standpoint, but they just can't score. And I don't know, but I think the Cavs are much better than last year, and the Knicks are, at least they have a higher ceiling than last year. We'll see.
I would agree with that statement. And that's kind of the question out east. Who can challenge the Boston Celtics? We expect the C's to be there, at least in the Eastern Conference Finals at the end. Who provides that best test? Let's go from the teams, Fonseca, to the individual award race right now that is the MVP in the NBA. You look at some of the numbers, and you might think, this guy Nikola Jokic is continuing to do it, averaging a triple-double, is top 4 in every one of those categories. Points scored, rebounds per game, assists per game around the NBA, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the NBA's leading scorer on the NBA's best team, or at least co-best team at this moment. A little bit of movement, though, as we enter All-Star Weekend. SGA was minus 650 earlier this week to win the MVP award. Now it's just minus 470. Nikola Jokic looking to become the 6th player in NBA history to win at least 4 MVP awards. Is this race over? Do you think SGA has wrapped it up? Or is Nikola Jokic truly in the running?
I don't think it's over. I think it's likely going to be between one of these two guys, though. Like, I think last year we were playing with the idea of, okay, there's Jokic, there's Embiid before he got hurt towards meniscus, there was Luka Doncic. Tatum didn't really have a case for being number 1, but his name was being thrown around there, and then it's like, is Jalen Brunson going to be on a ballot? I think this year it's just kind of going to be between these two. And right now, I do think Shea would get it because of a couple different factors. One, his team is really good, and they played through injury without Chet Holmgren for a bunch of the year, who just came back recently. Isaiah Hartenstein missed a lot of time. You also have the element of, hey, Oklahoma City just looks overwhelming, at least in the Western Conference from a regular season standpoint. In the playoffs, we'll see if this is a regular season award. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it kind of feels like it's his time where he's really ascending to that MVP level, whereas Nikola Jokic already has multiple MVPs. I wonder if the voters are going to just be like, hey, we'll give it to Shai this year, on some human element type of vote. I think Nikola Jokic, obviously, he has a production, he's deserving, and Denver would absolutely fall off a cliff if he doesn't do what he has to on a night-to-night basis. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is absolutely deserving of it. I think right now he would probably almost certainly win it. And if this continues and he's healthy down the stretch and Oklahoma City, gets to 60-plus wins as we project to be the case, then yeah, I think he's going to get this award.
The narrative, a part of this conversation, not just voter fatigue and saying, let's give it to somebody new. Nikola Jokic just won 3 of the last 4, but also the narrative of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading OKC to new heights, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, and what that could mean overall. So that's the All-Star break NBA component. Now let's get to All-Star Weekend. Bryan Fonseca up next.
At some point, these ADs are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
All-Star Weekend by the Bay in San Francisco at the home of the Golden State Warriors inside the Chase Center starts on this Friday with the Rising Stars competition, All-Star Saturday night, skills competition, 3-point contest, dunk contest, somebody wake up Mac McClung, and then, of course, All-Star Sunday night in a new format. Bryan Fonseca here for a second consecutive segment. As clearly and as simply as I can, let me just try to explain what the new structure of the All-Star game looks like. We have 4 teams all incorporating TNT Turner Sports NBA talent. Charles Barkley's global stars, Kenny Smith's young stars, Shaquille O'Neal's OGs, and Candace Parker's rising stars. Candace will take over the Champion of the Rising Stars competition that is on this Friday to be featured in the All-Star festivities on Sunday night. We have semifinal matchups that we can break down here. The global stars of Chuck versus the young stars of Kenny, Shaq's OGs versus Candace's rising stars. These two semifinal games will play against each other. First to 40, the champions of those two will play in the championship game. Also, first to 40 to decide our all-star champion. I hope that made sense. We'll continue to discuss. Fonseca, I ask you what I hope is an even simpler question to start. Do you like the new format of the 2025 All-Star Weekend?
No, I think this is going to suck. I think we're at a point where we're just confusing the fans. And I don't like when leagues are trying to bring in casual observers because, let's be honest, the All-Star game is not geared toward diehard consumers of your product, which is fine. It's geared toward getting casuals to be more than casual. It's geared towards people just kind of tuning in and wanting to have a good time. What people don't like is being confused, as we've seen with a lot of different things. And if you're bringing in a new audience to confuse them, they're going to be pissed off and not want to follow your product. So I think this is just doing too much. And I think this is at the risk of just pissing off a lot of people who are just trying to enjoy themselves this weekend.
Doesn't it feel like more thought was given to like the color of the uniforms and what the court's going to look like and the different, it's like all we want to see is all-stars play basketball. This is not that difficult. But having said that, and you've looked at these teams, is there one group that you think matches up pretty well in order to be able to get this thing done?
I mean, if we do want to actually break this down, whatever team Wemby's on, because I think Wemby's going to care. He's actually somebody like if I wanted to place a bet for MVP, I would look at Victor Wembanyama because he seems like someone who's going to care. He seems like someone who's not going to want to be buddy-buddy with everybody. And he seems like somebody who has a team where, I mean, we look at this roster. First of all, it's ridiculous that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic are on the same team, who are both the MVP frontrunners, as we just talked about. But Nikola Jokic doesn't care about this. He's going to be deferential. He'll probably get like a couple points and 8 assists. If his points over-under is like 6.5, I'm probably going to take the under because I'm not sure he's going to get more than 3 layups. You have Alperen Sengun, who might be similar in this type of format. Like you have a whole bunch of guys on this team who are going to be like, all right, if you want to score, go ahead. So Victor Wembanyama, from an MVP standpoint on his own team, has to worry about, I think, Karl-Anthony Towns and Trae Young the most, and probably Shai. And Giannis isn't going to play. So, I mean, that's great. Because, I mean, it's not because he's hurt, but it's great from the standpoint of if you want to bet on Wembanyama, Giannis is somebody who cares in the All-Star game. So you take away somebody else who cares, and it's like, all right, cool. I think Wemby could potentially put on a show. And that's probably the most interesting team to me, just from a top-to-bottom standpoint. Yeah. This young stars team that Kenny Smith has, I mean, all the respect, but, I mean, Anthony Edwards shot a left-handed 3 last year in one of the competitions. I'm not trying to see that. Then you have like Tyler Hero, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Williams, Cade Cunningham. That team's going to get smoked. I'd be surprised if they beat Chuck's team. But then again, it's the All-Star game, so who knows?
Yeah, and who knows what the format's like, and who knows if they come out with a hot spurt and you're just playing first to 40 and you're hoisting threes and there's a mentality to all of that. I would agree, Fonseca. It's also interesting when you find the categories of how these guys were slotted in. The global stars is not just all international players. There's a couple of Americans on the team, as you saw. Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, Karl-Anthony Towns. You've got the OGs, some guys that have been around for a while. Steph, LeBron, KD, as we know. But also, you've got the young stars that include guys like Jalen Brunson, who's been in the NBA now for 7 seasons. So who knows exactly how this format is going to work. And Victor Wembanyama, that price shortening on his number to win that All-Star Game MVP. It is correlated, right? If Fonseca thinks Wemby is going to care and have a chance to put up big numbers and win the MVP award, then that should be good for Chuck's Global Stars, who have the second best price to win the All-Star Game at 2-1. Fonseca, I would just say that Team Shaq does remain the favorite because they have Steph, LeBron, and others who have been there for a while. Fonseca, do you believe that you will be betting All-Star Weekend, either All-Star Saturday night and the All-Star festivities on Sunday?
Yeah, in the dunk contest and even the three-point contest, but more so in the dunk contest, I like to bet on somebody who's not the favorite because it's a dunk contest. So, I mean, why not take a shot with Stephon Castle? Because Stephon Castle, of all these guys, one, he's plus 750. Two, he has a cheat code. He's teammates with Victor Wembanyama. You don't think he's going to try to incorporate Victor Wembanyama in some sort of dunk? I'm not saying he's going to jump over him because, maybe the Spurs won't allow that for obvious reasons. You don't want Victor Wembanyama to get potentially teabagged on national television in the dunk contest because Stephon Castle can't jump over somebody who's like 7'4". But at the same time, could he sit in a chair and throw up a lob so Stephon Castle could windmill it over him? Yeah, that could probably happen. If he incorporates Wemby in some way, people are just going to be like, oh, that was cool. He used Wemby, da-da-da-da. I don't think he should be plus 750 because he has a cheat code of a teammate that he can use for the dunk contest.
We'll talk more about All-Star Saturday and all those betting markets up next.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hand up. Bad hosting on my end. Did not realize Bryan Fonseca was leaving us at the end of that second segment. Thought he was going to be here for the entirety of the second half hour of our second hour. That's only on me. That's a guy who didn't check the timestamps on the rundown. So, Bryan Fonseca, if you're listening out there, and to everybody that did listen to Bryan Fonseca drop some knowledge, we appreciate his time and his expertise here on this Friday on the Early Line. Speaking of Friday, Rising Stars competition, but let's get to All-Star Saturday night, where Fonseca did give us a pick for, of course, the all-elusive dunk contest. Here are your 4 contestants tomorrow night in San Francisco. Somebody get Mac McClung back in an NBA arena. He is the favorite to win his 3rd consecutive dunk contest at minus 210. These odds available, by the way, not stateside, but up in the Great White North in Canada, but just to give you a representation of what we are looking at. Chicago's rookie, Modest Buzelis, who is known as Little Boozy Vert. He's got the second best price at 5-1. And then a couple of former Connecticut Huskies, Andre Jackson Jr. and the rookie for San Antonio, Steph Castle, both at plus 750. Now, Fonseca made the point, Ranieri, that it's a dunk contest. Who knows exactly what we're going to see, despite the pedigree that Mac McClung has deserved as your back-to-back champion. Might as well take a flyer on a big plus money price instead of laying more than $2, right, of minus money on Mac McClung. Is Fonseca correct?
Well, yeah, as long as it wins. Otherwise, you're going to wish you laid the 210. I mean, guys, we're talking about a dude who's 6'2", 6'2", all right? And he's a back-to-back champion, and he's doing something that's only been done, or trying to do something that's only been done one other time. We've only had one three-peat champion, I believe, in the three-point range, and that was Nate Robinson back in the day before he was fighting for pay-per-view and getting knocked out by Jake Paul, but that's a whole different story. But, I mean, it's 6'2", Ben. He's the favorite for a reason. Any dunk that he does with that frame is going to look a million times crazier than anything the other 3 guys are going to do. Although Buzelis is interesting because, don't forget, he was teammates with a 2-time dunk champion who was apparently working with him all year, for the last month or so before he was traded in Zach LaVine. So maybe, just maybe, he's got 1 or 2 tricks up his sleeve as well.
Is that why Mac McClung, at only 6'2", could join a guy like Nate Robinson, who is the only three-peat NBA dunk contest winner in history, 06, 09, 2011, because
Crazy.
Nate the Great was 5'9". It just looks better. It looks like they are defying odds and gravity at the same time. Now, I hear Fonseca's point. It's a dunk contest. It's arbitrary. It's subjective, all of that stuff. I don't think I would bet against Mac McClung at this moment, who is playing this year, Joe, no longer for the Delaware 96ers or whatever, the 79, I don't even know exactly what they're called, but as a part of the Magic organization. He plays mostly for the G League affiliate, the Osceola Magic. He has played in 1 NBA game this year for Orlando, about 5 minutes. You got to keep him around as long as you can. 3-point contest, as we'll talk about on the other side of the break as well to start hour 3. Damian Lillard is the favorite at 3-1 in front of Buddy Hield, Darius Garland, our guy on the early line, Norm Powell. Is that Cam Johnson? I think so. Tyler Hero, Jalen Brunson, and Cade Cunningham. Tyler Hero last night, 40-point performance for Miami, albeit in a loss in Dallas. But as Joe astutely pointed out, he was 3 of 14 from deep.
I mean, which is probably why he's going to win this event now. Go figure. He did make it, I think he made it to the second round last year, Tyler Hero, too, but fell a little bit short. But this is all going to be about Damian Lillard from the Bay Area. That's where he grew up. It's going to be a very pro-Lillard crowd. And he's, again, going for 3 in a row. How do you go wrong? I mean, with Lillard at plus 3-1. I don't get it.
But Dame grew up in Oakland. And Oakland doesn't really like San Francisco. So we'll see if that means anything. Yes, you are correct, though. Dame looking to go back to back to back. He is just the 6th player in NBA three-point shootout contest history to win 2 in a row, and thus why he is a favorite. He has done so, by the way, on 2 different teams. Blazers first in 23, Bucks last year in 2024. We'll talk more All-Star Weekend and hear from the people. Are you excited? We'll do that in hour number 3 next.